Well, welcome to Beaches Watch's July meeting, and we're looking forward to hearing from our police chiefs from our beaches communities about all the exciting things that happened around the 4th of July and things that are going on at our beaches in general as far as safety and what they are doing now to keep us safe and keep us happy here. Before we start, I'm Maria Mark, I'm president of Beaches Watch, and we'll be hosting the meeting. So after the presentations from the chiefs, we will have question and answer from the audience. So please hold your questions until after they've given their presentations. Okay, so before we start, I do have a couple of announcements, our usual announcements. So as always, we video our meetings and we put them on our YouTube channel the next day at Beaches Watch 2012. We're always looking to grow our membership, so please think about either renewing or joining tonight. $15 for individual, $20 for family, and $5 for students. It's a yearly membership, valid from January through December, and you can renew your membership tonight, or you can go online at beacheswatch.com. We'd like to go ahead and recognize our elected officials. We have Vice Mayor Carrie Chen from Neptune Beach. Carrie, there. Oh, in the front. Yay. Closest to the police. We have Sandy Golding, who is representing us on the Jacksonville Beach City Council. Any other elected officials? Lauren Key, counselor. Okay. Next time you have to sign in on the sheet that says elected officials.
I didn't see that.
No, thank you. Welcome, and we're glad you're here. Any other dignitaries? I have a special dignitary I would like to recognize, and that is Jack Rowan. Jack is a graduate from Fletcher High School, and he was a recipient of our Fran Sharp Memorial Scholarship in 2020. Jack is about ready to graduate and sit for the LSATs, so he's just kind of floating along and having a really nice life right now, right, Jack? No. Okay. We wish you a lot of luck, Jack. Thank you. And thank you for coming. Okay. So as you can see, we're in budget time. So Jacksonville Beach has a number of workshops and meetings scheduled. I will not go through all these dates because you will not remember them, but they are on our website under Jacksonville Beach. So please, if you are a Jacksonville Beach citizen, please take a moment, look through the dates, and please attend these budget meetings. They are so important in learning and understanding how your tax dollars are being spent. This is a time that you can really get up close and personal. Even if you're not a numbers person, at least you can get an idea as to how decisions are being made with your tax dollars. So I encourage you to please attend any and all workshops you can. Election time. So we have with Jack's Beach, we have 3 seats that are open and they are unopposed. So that's a good thing, probably for the incumbents. But it also tells us that, we really, as citizens, we need to get involved. And I know this is not the best climate to get into politics and to get into that, but it really is about us. And so we are really looking for those next generation of leaders to come in and step up. Neptune Beach, looks like we have 1 seat that is being challenged, and that's seat 4, Christine Burke and Josh Messenger. And then seat 5 is being run unopposed as well, Mia Livingston. Atlantic Beach, we're on a kind of a different schedule here. Qualifying for Atlantic Beach does not start until August 29th, and it runs through September 2nd. So Atlantic Beach residents, you have lots of time to think about putting your name on the ballot. We have, their seats that's open are our commissioner seat 4, and our commissioner seat 5. So again, those qualifying dates are August 29th through September 2nd. Primary election dates to remember, July 25th is the deadline to register to vote. Hopefully everybody here is already registered, but if you're not, please register by the 25th. Early voting starts August 8th through the 21st. August 13th is the deadline to request a ballot to be mailed, and August 23 is the E-Day. That's the election day. And speaking of elections, we are happy that we're going to host the forum for our District 2 school board candidates. We have incumbent Elizabeth Anderson and challenger April Carney. That forum will be held here at our August 3rd meeting, starting at 7 p.m. We will be taking written questions from the audience, and we will also be taking written questions online, so you can submit any questions there as well. Okay, any other announcements? No? Well, we'll get on with the presentation. Again, tonight we have our police chiefs to provide the annual update on community safety. We have, speaking from our Atlantic Beach Police Department, Chief Vic Willow. We have from Jacksonville Beach Police Department, Chief Jean Paul Smith. And we have from Neptune Beach Police Department, Commander Michael Key. So, did you flip a coin to see who's going first, or draw a straw? No? Well, all right. It's my favorite system, and I'm the host, so I can do this. So, Chief Willow, I'll let you start off the panel.
Thank you, Maria. Appreciate it. Thank you all for having us tonight. We really appreciate the opportunity to come out every year and share some information with you about what's going on in our respective cities. So I think I'll just go off of some questions that were posed to the panel before we got here. Usually the questions this time of year is, how did the 4th of July go? Well, for us, it went great. It helps that we have some of our holidays which by fall towards the end of the weekend, not the beginning of the weekend. Probably the biggest concern we have was during the daytime, lots of traffic, bicycle traffic. And the bicycle traffic was probably right at the top of our list. If you live at the beach, you understand that sometimes bicyclists forget that they have to abide by the same rules and regulations as cars do, and stop at stop signs, not make right turns in front of cars or making turns. It's tough. I think I probably almost had 4 accidents when I was driving around that day, just with bicycles. So that was probably our primary concern during the daytime. Nighttime, we had a pretty good run, I think. I was out there until the fireworks were over for a while. The traffic coming off the beach was not bad. Sometimes when we have those big weekends, it looks like just a wave, like a tidal wave coming across, Beach Avenue down Ocean Boulevard. East Coast Drive. It's really dangerous because there's so many pedestrians out there with no lights, dressed in dark clothing, and the cars keep traversing north and south. But we did pretty well this year. It wasn't a huge amount of foot traffic, thank goodness. Probably the biggest problem we had that night was a tractor crash on Atlantic Boulevard. It's a pretty good crash over the bridge, shut down 2 lanes for a while, but thankfully no one was seriously hurt. The sheriff's office looked at it as no jurisdiction. That was probably our biggest concern that evening. So great 4th of July as far as we're concerned. Most common crimes in our community, we got asked that question. By the numbers, I'm using 2021 numbers, 22 numbers weren't quite ready yet. My stat person was out, so the 2021 numbers are probably pretty close to this. Theft is our number 1 by far, as I'm sure probably most of the beaches are. Drugs were our second highest incident crime. Vandalism, believe it or not, was number 3, and then simple assaults were the top 4 for us in 21, probably close to that, I'm sure also. And just for our agency, our total number of cleared cases, which means out of numbers of crimes we had reported, which is what we had made arrests for, about 700 crimes that were reported on categories 4 reporting, cleared about 300. So that's pretty good. That includes all arrests from the control division and the investigative and detective division. So it's a pretty good ratio of all the cases that we cleared last year, 21, sorry. We are blessed in Atlantic Beach, and we have very little gang activity. If we see any of the gang affiliation that's coming from Jacksonville, typically the people who come across the bridge are coming to sell drugs in our jurisdiction, and that's, if you find any gang affiliation, also typically where we see it come from. Luckily, we don't have a whole lot of that. Maybe we have some of the homegrown groups that are just part of the neighborhood. We don't really consider those bona fide gangs. We just have a few of those folks who are across the bridge. drug activity, in 21, the drug arrests we reported were 87, and 49 of those, 49 more were for drug equipment, for 536 drug-related crimes. So we catch a little bit of shade on Facebook whenever we post the fact that we made arrests for marijuana arrests. I think our point in saying that is when we make arrests, marijuana involved. That sometimes leads us to other things like meth or fentanyl or LSD or cocaine. So when the officers are out there stopping cars, typically with traffic, and they're looking for reasons to engage with people more and find out, are you a criminal, are you a wanted suspect for some other warrant, do you have drugs in the car, it's what leads them to the next step. So sometimes, yes, they do find the marijuana, trying to find the next step they need to go to for a more serious drug, a trafficking charge. And that's all they find, all on good, and that person gets charged with marijuana. So understand that's just a part of what we do. We're not out there hunting people for possession of marijuana every day. It's just a byproduct of searching for something more severe, more significant. Gun activity, we had 15 and 21 arrests for weapon-related crimes. Probably the most concerning thing we've seen in the past year is more prevalence of ghost guns. Those guns that can be manufactured on a 3D printer or parts of them, and a few other parts being purchased to make a functioning firearm with no serial number. So we found several of those in the past year, enough that we've noticed that that's considerably increased. So the ghost guns are part of our concern. We do run into guns pretty regularly on the street. Typically, again, traffic stops when we get to search a car for some reason. We find drugs or something else, some other reason why we want to search the car, and there's a legal weapon in the car, typically a stolen one, or it's being possessed by a felon. So how do we involve our community with student safety, student-teacher safety? We were lucky in the last year, gentlemen. We signed an agreement, all three beaches signed an agreement with the Duval County School Board to provide security at the schools in our jurisdiction. So in AB now, every day there's an Atlantic Beach officer working at Atlantic Beach Elementary, which is nice. There's nothing wrong with the sheriff's office or the Duval County School Board working that detail. It feels a little better to have when your local officers working in your local school. Those officers know many of the kids that go there, they're tied in with families. So it's a really nice touch, I think, to be able to walk into that school, see an officer that you know, have a conversation with them, know that that person is welcome here during the daytime, protecting the school and watching over the kids and teachers. So that was a very positive thing for us. We try and train in the school at least once a year at Atlantic Beach Elementary. So as we get new officers to come on board, we'll at least walk them through the school, let them know where the cafeteria is, where the classrooms are, where the layout of the school is, so have at least some idea of what's going on in the school, even if they don't work off duty there as security over here. We work closely with the Duval County School Board and principal to make sure that we get through that. Positive things we do in the community in the past year or so, community policing continues to be one of our top pushes, and that's just getting the officers to engage in the community in non-traditional ways. You may have seen on Facebook, we've had several officers want to go out and play basketball with kids, stop out the centers, and just engage the kids in day-to-day conversation and build that relationship. One of our officers, Jeremy Benini, did such a good job with that. The kids started coming to the station and asking for him. Hey, it's also being worked today.
Can you come out tonight?
Play ball. So that's a nice thing. I think that proves it's working on that level. You can bring in all sorts of programs, COPS programs, and grant funding programs, and they're great. Don't get me wrong, but it's that individual officer making that individual connection with one or two kids that I think makes the biggest impact. And if we can spread that mentality, that idea around to the police departments and to individual officers, I think we'll reach a whole lot more people maybe in a more meaningful way than these programs can. Positive changes, positive things in the community. We offer 3 classes, Stop the Bleed, CPR, and CRAVE, Citizen Response to Active Shooter Events. We try and publicize those on our web pages. Those are great opportunities for us to engage the community, but we give you tools that are viable and use these in your everyday life. You may not think about it. Everybody see a terrible picture going around in the past 2 weeks of a young lady who had a massive sharp bite on her leg out in the Panhandle area. Yeah, she was scalloping. So I think the backstory on that I got that a relative or brother or somebody who's actually got an EMT or medical training. But the big thing is, we had a tourniquet with him on board the boat. He was able to apply the tourniquet. This young lady's injuries were so severe that she would not have survived this, that they had not been able to stop bleeding effectively. Well, we can teach you to stop the bleed class in about 90 minutes. We'll give you the tools that you need to save somebody's life. If you have a massive arterial bleeding appendage, the chances of EMS or someone getting there fast enough are pretty slim. As fast as GSO or JFRD gets there. If you have the knowledge to apply a tourniquet, you can do that, you can save someone's life just by applying the tourniquet correctly. So these simple things in the CPR class are the same way. We have story after story after story that are wins because someone knew CPR, they attended a class somewhere to save someone's life. For a few hours out of your time, it's an amazing tool you can carry for the rest of your life and be able to make an impact on someone else's life when you least expect it. So I encourage you please to take advantage of the CPR classes and the stop bleed classes that we offer, and the CRAZE classes, Citizen Response to Active Shooter events. Obviously, unfortunately, it's back in the news again with Uvalde, right? These events do happen in our community, in our society. The best thing you can do is get be informed. Let us give you some tips and pointers about how to expect to be involved in a critical incident and what you can do, what you can think about before the incident happens. I'll tell you from many years of law enforcement, if you expect to solve the problem when you get there, you will magically figure something out. Once you arrive, once that happens, you probably don't have any follow it. You prepare beforehand. At least prepare yourself with knowledge of what you can do, what some of your options are to try and help yourself out in these instances. Come to one of the CRAZE classes, let us talk about it, bounce some questions back and forth with us, let us give you some tools to work with. You got to get involved in public. And suggestions for us as far as the community and citizens go, be engaged. Come to one of our events, come to one of our Citizens Police Academy classes. Get to know the officers that work in these communities. It's a great way to start to build that relationship because that's how we're going to fix things. We're going to fix things on a relational level. The police being the people who show up and dressed in blue when something bad is happening is not what we're going to build that relationship. It's the other time we meet each other, to sit down and have a cup of coffee, to say hello in the store, to go to one of our CPA classes, to get to know each other. So if we're going to make a difference and have an impact, just like we do with kids, it's going to be on that one-to-one relational level. It's not going to be for you to come in and meet us. Let us show you what we do in real life, not like what we do on TV. And learn how we do our job, how we investigate crimes, or how we decide to pull a car over, or how we know how to use force or not to use force. Learn how we investigate drug crimes and DUIs. It's a great class. So I encourage you to stay involved, stay informed. We are living in a society today where we are becoming more and more polarized, I feel. People are trying and vying for your vote, for your opinion, for you to come across to their side. So I would say, stay informed, not just with the perspective you're comfortable with. Go out and find someone else's perspective. Not the great organizations, but I watch Fox and I watch CNN. And I go to UP and BBC and everybody else to try and stay informed. But go out there and reach for that information and then start to make your decisions. Then be engaged and informed and speak out and do what you can to make a difference. That's how we're going to change our community. Thank you very much. I think I'm probably close to my time.
Thank you, Chief. This is a great segue because I think I saw Mayor Elaine Brown walk in. Nice to see you, Mayor. Thank you for joining us. So our next speaker will now be Commander Michael Key from Neptune Beach Police Department. I know that wasn't really planned, but...
Are you wearing glasses, Mike?
Fortunately, that time has approached. I must wear readers. Anything further than that, I'm dead in the water. My name's Mike Key, as the introduction was. I'm a police commander with Neptune Beach. Unfortunately, Chief Richard Pike, who is a direct member, was unable to make it due to a planned vacation. So it's an honor and a thrill to be able to talk to you and present to you tonight. I am one of those strange birds that actually enjoys public speaking. I have something broken in my head. I do not enjoy it with so many Neptune Beach elected officials here, but I'm going to get through that. With that being said, I'm going to jump right into, just like Chief DeWillow, I'm sure Chief Smith will, he presents about 4th of July here. So 4th of July at Neptune Beach, as everyone knows, is an event. No doubt, that is the best way I can put that, as a true event. First and foremost, under Chief Pike's leadership, we have really taken a forward-leaning approach to dealing with the 4th of July impact our city has. And I say that because in 2016, we decided to strategically close down First Street to all vehicular traffic, which by now most people know. That really was a strategic decision. I use that word specifically just for the fact that you have to outweigh public safety versus basically what the street was going to offer if we didn't close it. And if you have been down there, which I have a quick video, if you haven't seen it, you'll see it tonight, of the sheer volume and amount of people that show up on First Street and enjoy 4th of July in our city. And for years now, we took an approach that we tried to manage it, we tried to enforce it, we tried to address it from a very traditional stance that law enforcement has. And in that year, 2016, and since, we took that different approach to say, look, we need to shut the road down. And that was somewhat of a highly political decision. Some people wanted it, some people didn't want it, some people argued that it would invite more people. The fact is the people were already here, and it's not our job to do anything but just to provide safety for them. So that was the decision we made. Since that, it's kind of grown, and we've started implementing changes every single year. And one of those changes was the implementation of water barricades throughout First Street corridor. And I believe sometimes in the video you may see them. We strategically place them on First Street, so you don't really see them. It's not really something very obvious. It's not something we advertise, but it's a scenario in which we arrange the water barricades that if we were to have a scenario where someone deliberately used the vehicle as a weapon and tried to drive that weapon down First Street, it would somewhat create some type of resistance to stop that. And again, strategic decision to try to provide public safety as a forward-leaning component of our approach and our plan. In addition to that, which I'll address here shortly, with our resources, every officer that works 4th of July that's on First Street, you'll notice also their vehicles are strategically positioned in a way that in the event of something happening, a broken arrow in the industry that we call basically a significant event, right? Where hypothetically speaking, that vehicle became an attack type scenario, those officers would then pull their vehicles out in addition to try to stop that vehicle as well. So these things, we're all thinking these things through, and we're seeing incidents across the entire country. We pray hard, obviously, that they're never going to happen in our community. But you can't live anymore with your head in the sand. You absolutely have to think outside the box and what is the worst case scenario, and try to plan from that and work your way backwards. So, part of our 4th of July plan is our public messaging. Again, we're leaning forward on that as well. We, just like the other 3 beaches, we're very active on our social media. We try to make the bar the example for our social media for other agencies. We do news interviews. I happen to be a public information officer. We try to capture any time that we can basically talk on the news about messaging for these type of events. We try to capture that and use the media as our partner. Enforcement strategy, we really stress, hey, come out here, have fun, but behave. Again, kind of goes back to that scenario where the people are here. You have to accept the fact that they've arrived. Neptune Beach is now a quote-unquote street party, and We're going to try to limit that. We're going to try to make sure everybody behaves, but again, we have to kind of embrace that. With that being said, we're going to have zero tolerance for disorderly intoxication and fighting. Everybody's going to come out there and have a good time. I was along First Street throughout the entire day, saw numerous children on bicycles with their parents, and that's what we want. We want, sure, we can have a younger crowd that's going to come out and drink in excess, maybe, but we also want to have that strict enforcement that if you do show up and then show out, you're going to, unfortunately, get a free ride downtown to Jackson. So then lastly is the resources. It's an all-call event for Neptune Beach Police Department. What that means is our 22 officers and our 10 civilian staffs. It's 32 people strong. The Neptune Beach Police Department, every single person's working. You join our police department, and you know that was the last 4th of July you'll ever have off. You're working. Enjoy that. Enjoy it for yourself. And then, fortunately, we've had a great partnership with Jackson Sheriff's Office. They've continuously sent out resources. In years past, we've had mounted units, we've had beach patrol, and obviously an element inside the vehicle as well. So real quick, this is just a quick drone, a couple drone shots of a fun little video that kind of gives you an idea of how 4th of July looks throughout the day. I'm sure if you're sitting in this room, you're very familiar with it. Maybe some people online. And if you're not, it is an eye-opening experience. It starts around 10 in the morning and it goes till about midnight. Is what our enhanced patrols really encapsulate. So that drone footage that was taken in about a 3-hour time span with various different spots along the First Street corridor. As you can see, we obviously had a massive influx in our population of 7,200. We probably had 7,200 off First Street there. As a matter of fact, I'll show you some statistical numbers here. We actually did have that. So I believe Chief Will also mentioned our preliminary after-action report. It hasn't been completed. Obviously, we're in July. We're right out fresh off of a major holiday for us, and also with dealing with people being out for vacations and such. So, with that being said, overall, we surprisingly, after probably watching that video, we had a well-attended and well-behaved crowd show up. We deployed a bicycle counter, which was pretty interesting. That was our second year doing that. So the Neptune Beach deployed that. And in 2022, we recorded 7,353 bicycles. That's incredible. Now, granted, statistics are always that, right? You have to kind of take them with a grain of salt. The normal crowd goes up First Street, they go down First Street, maybe they go back up. So how many multiple counts of those? You have to kind of take that into account. But even just looking at it, taking 10% off of that, 15% still a massive number. That's up from comparison to 2021 for 5,900. And then just to throw in there, there's a bicycle counter in Lower Manhattan during the exact same time period during 4th of July that only hit 3,900. So that kind of gives you an idea of what Neptune Beach experiences during First Street. There's only one way to prepare for that, and that's what I believe what we're doing is. You just have to encourage people to bring their manners, encourage and immediately stop any type of disorderly intoxicating violence and manage it best you can. So from the weekend, in between July 1st through July 4th, that incorporates Friday through Monday, there were a total of 5 arrests, 2 fights, 7 suspicious persons, 1 sexual exposure that was unfounded, 5 drunk calls, 6 persons down or 6, 2 deaths, and I'll add a caveat to that. The deaths were at this point still under investigation, but that appear to be a medical and natural causes. 36 illegally parked cars, 2 towed, and I want to kind of bring that number to y'all's attention. That is actually a very big number, but a win for us. We shut down First Street parking pretty early on, and to only tow 2 cars, I felt that was very much so reflective of our public messaging and trying to get out the word, as well as obviously notifying residents of First Street. Continuing on, 88 traffic stops, 50 citations, 2 crashes, no injuries on those, and 5 firework calls to the property. So moving out of 4th of July, just kind of talking in general terms about our summer so far. What the Neptune Beach Police Department's done in previous years and will continue to do this year is assigned a beach officer east of 3rd Street every weekend. That has proved pretty effective. That officer focuses east of 3rd Street only, so obviously hitting the 1st Street corridor and the beach as well. Just trying to look for any and all violations that we can. Everything from obviously DUI and speeding down 1st Street to illegal dogs on the beach and everything else under the sun that can happen. Again, we've really focused and ramped up our public messaging, our PSAs for e-bikes and low-speed vehicles. If you're not familiar already, the City Council passed a new ordinance for reckless operation of an e-bike. And that's been yet another tool for our officers to be able to try to deal with the problem with those e-bikes that I'm sure all of you have seen zipping up and down the beach. Again, we try to do our best to enforce those, but now with that new ordinance, we have a little bit more team to get over this. We've also been involved in enhanced enforcement campaigns, and all that is there's multiple different ways we can do that. But that's a partnership with Jack's Beach Atlantic and FHP. We just recently did like a saturation check control with a lot of officers out there for DUIs. We have also signed full-time to a motorcycle that's him coming out on his days off, things like that, working bicycle patrols. The Neptune Beach Ocean Rescue is fully staffed, and they fall within the police department. They were able to increase their starting salary, which has kept us competitive with all the other beaches agencies. And the patrol division, it's been a very busy summer months for them. They just recently had a minor with a handgun be arrested. He brandished it during a road rage incident, a sex offender arrest for violation of probation, failure to register. Numerous guns have been taken off the street, and drug cases just, again, from simple traffic stops. Here's just a quick snapshot of May and June. May, you'll see there's in red, white, and June is in red. It's kind of hard to see the white dots. Basically, you can see 27 incidences in June and 20 in May. And then lastly, from school safety initiatives, we partnered, like Chief Willis said, to conduct with Duval County School Board to begin working with them. We also do tours each year of their schools to make sure that all of our officers are very familiar. If we have an active shooter and they're yelling, hey, he's in class at 17 or down at Elwood Hall or whatnot, we actually know exactly where to go. We have lane maps and such. School Safety Officer Liaison Program has been a very big initiative that Chief Pike has initiated a couple years ago. We have an officer every day on the day watch, Monday through Friday, going and visiting those schools. We assign officers to work their school zones when calls permitted. We are involved in reunification drills with the school board and involved in school safety plans with various schools. Today was Beaches Chapel. So the last thing is we're continuously doing active shooter training and force training to ensure that any of the unlikely and very rare event that anything happened here, we're definitely ready for it. So with that, I'll turn it over. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good afternoon, good evening. How many of you have heard me speak before? Raise your hand.
Never.
Okay, I just want to make sure I bring you all in easy. for those who don't have. My name is Gene Paul Smith. I've been with the agency for 28 years. I've been chief now for 3. This is the first Beaches Watch that I've attended as chief. I'm 19, I was on vacation, and of course, the last 2 years with COVID, we've had to do it remote. So, pleasure to be here. I'm going to start off with the 4th. I have to report this in the city of Jacks Beach, 4th of July was a non-incident. Nothing happened. I know Sandy's happy. Usually Sandy's getting phone calls at 3 a.m. on the 5th saying, Sandy, I just want to let you know this happened. That's when I called Commander Gary Snyder about 5 and all the bikes were heading north to Neptune Beach, I swear to you. Other than the year we canceled July 4th due to COVID, it is the slowest 4th of July that I can remember in 28 years. I think it's a combination of the 5 fireworks sites in Jacksonville. I think it's a combination of a lot of things going on in a lot of communities, including fireworks on your street. I sound like a war zone right the street behind my house. So I think a lot of those things are coming into play where we're not seeing the crowds. I remember I was going home maybe 45 minutes after the fireworks, where I'd be there at least 2-3 hours after fireworks, and traffic would be back up on Penman, on Beach, and I took maybe 12 blocks. But it was completely empty 45 minutes later. So it was kind of strange. You know, we anticipated a big year because of post-COVID. We figured everybody wanted to come out and celebrate. It just wasn't busy. It wasn't busy on the beach front. It wasn't busy on First Street. It just was a non-incident. So that's really good news. That's encouraging. We had no critical incidents this 4th of July. Real quick about our city. I have 70 sworn officers, roughly. I have about 30 civilian employees. We answered 65,000 calls for service last year, 95,000 officer responses. Now, what officer response is, of course, not every time one officer goes to one call. Sometimes you have multiple officers go to one call. So we began measuring officer responses because we didn't think that one call at a bar, when I have 5 officers up there coming as one call, is an accurate representation of what we're doing. So we want to count the total number of officers that responded to that call, whatever it is. So it was about 95,000. So we do that with about 45 patrolmen. So we have a little different dynamic in our city. We're very busy, as my 2 friends over here are. It's just a different dynamic. At least 85, 86, up to 90 places to serve alcohol in our city. Now it's everything from Applebee's to full-blown bar, but it's still 90 outlets to serve alcohol. 2 major roadways, Beach Boulevard, JTB, plus 3rd Street. So it's a very challenging environment to police in. We like to say it's a tale of 2 or 3 cities. You know, you go during Jacks Beach during the day, it's beach crowd. You go in the evening, it's restaurant crowd. You go at night, it's a bar crowd. You get a lot of overflow from Jacksonville, for visitors, for criminals, from all types. So the tourists, it's just really a melting pot of a lot of different demographics and customers. So setting that up, most common crimes, like Chief Willis said, theft, of course. We have a lot of batteries, which are striking or touching someone against their will. A lot of alcohol-related crimes, a lot of DUIs. We do have an occasional homicide here or there. We have some aggravated assaults, aggravated batteries, but mostly it's misdemeanors, which is a good thing. You know, it's been a challenging 3 years for us in law enforcement, with all the things going on around the country. But I will say that I have a supportive council, I have a supportive city manager, I have the best staff in the country, and they make my job easy. And I have a best of all supportive citizen base who's probably become more protective of us in the last 3 years. And it's wonderful to see during the bad years of Summer of Love during 2020, 2021 as it's called, the Summer of Love. We couldn't go anywhere without someone buying us lunch or dinner or thanking us. It was really wonderful. I'm the luckiest police chief in the country. I really am. wonderful citizen base. With that said, we took the approach that we're not going to tolerate guns, gangs, and drugs in our community, period. As long as I'm chief of police, that's what we're going to focus on. The parking, the animal control, there's lots of important stuff going on in all our cities, but don't forget, about more than 10 miles from here, there's 100 to 150 homicides occurring every year in Duval County. Duval County is the murder capital per capita in Florida. We're number 1, 2, or 3. And I don't want to look back from now, right over the bridge, saying the good old days were an occasional fight, an occasional gun, an occasional stabbing. Now look what we've become. So that's my goal, is to prevent that. So the future for all 3 beaches will be misdemeanor crimes are the most prevalent that occur. With that said, gang activity, like Chief Willis said, it's all coming from Jacksonville. Because this is neutral territory, because this is the place to see or be seen in downtown Jacksonville Beach on First Street. If you're an 18-year-old criminal or an 18-year-old non-criminal, that's where I would be. And I was there 40 years ago too. Probably driving the police crazy. But that's where everybody goes. And we have to accept that. It's the playground for the county, or the beaches, especially Jacksonville Beach. We get a large influx, and many times multiplies our 25,000 base population into 2-3 times that on any given time between businesses, restaurants, people on the roadway, people on the beach. It was estimated in one article on the Daily Beast about 10 years ago that we had 8 million visitors in Jacksonville Beach in that year, which was 2008, which is incredible. If you look at 3rd Street, any given time on Beach Boulevard, you believe it. It's not that hard to believe. Drug activity, most of it comes from out of town, looking to sell or transport through our city. Anybody on our Facebook page? Anybody? Please get on it. I encourage you. We post all our guns and drugs that we're seizing and taking it quite a bit. That's where I've made our focus of enforcement. ATF came to us and said, we want to put a couple of your guys as federal officers cross-sworn on our task force because, other than the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, the Jacksonville Beach Police Department sees more guns than anybody in Northeast Florida, any agency. Since January 2019, we've made 141 related firearms arrests. We've seized 457 legal firearms. We made 392 firearms cases. That's just for our city, which is 8 square miles. If we're getting that, what are we missing? What is out there? So we put an emphasis on guns, gangs, and drugs in our city. And I'm supported by my city council, my city manager on that. Involvement of our Department of Student and Teacher Safety. Currently, we help the school board out with Seabreeze Elementary. It's difficult to cover sometimes because I'm always running short, but we committed to that last year to help them cover one elementary school. I don't think we're going to be able to do it this year. I just don't have the people, so it's going to revert back to the Duval County School Board. They wanted us to cover all 4 schools in our jurisdiction. There's no way I can hold that off. We do work with them. We have a good working relationship, and we do active shooter, active threat training every year for every officer. It's very dynamic, it's very challenging, it's very manpower intensive, but we committed to do that for the citizens and for the kids. Positive things we've done in our department. Who's a graduate of Citizen Police Academy? Okay, awesome program. I think Councilperson Dolan, she gives us a free plug every now and then about it. It's an awesome program. We've graduated 48 classes, had about 30 people per class for the last 25 years. And from that, we got our volunteer program, which is nationally recognized. Citizens on Patrol, our Citizens Police Academy alumni. A lot of you already know that, but some of you don't. There will be a class in August, and we'd love to have you. It's the coolest thing you'll ever do. You drive along, you shoot, SWAT team comes in, K-9s, all facets of our operation you're exposed to. As it's not taught by command staff, it's taught by the line officer. Citizens action to help your department and community. I would say, probably the biggest, I would say, if you see something, say something. You don't know how many citizens I've run across. I wish I would call, I almost did, but I felt stupid. Please call us, that's what we're there for. And you'd be shocked at the number of times someone just had a gut feeling, they called us, and it was verified. So please call us. The second thing is lock up your cars, lock up your guns, lock up your valuables, and your driving. All these guns are being stolen from cars in Jacksonville that are left unlocked. And they're used against other victims, they're used against policemen, they're used against all of us. So please, lock up yourself and don't leave anything in the car that you value, especially handguns, please. You know, I just want to thank the beaches in general. It's a wonderful community. I think the three mayors work together wonderfully. I think the three beach police departments work together as one. We're there for each other. It really is a special place. And it's been my only police department. It's been the joy of my life to work here. I want to protect it. I want to protect the people who work and visit here. But I made it clear to my agency and to the people who work and visit within our city, come visit us, have a great time, but absolutely don't break the law. We will find you and we will take you to jail. And I make no apologies for that stance. So come, have a good time, and obey the rules, and be good visitors and to our city. All I have. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Chiefs and Commander. We'll go ahead and start with the question and answer. I think we have about close to 15 minutes. So I will. Okay, first question. Yes.
I was particularly interested in Chief Smith's reference. Excuse me, pardon me, Commander Key. It's to you.
Thank you, sir.
For the ordinance that Neptune Beach passed on the e-bikes. And just in a matter of a few years, it's not just e-bikes, it's e-scooters, e-skateboards, e-roller boards, and everything is e. And so my question is, before you passed the ordinance, did you have some problems, or were you anticipating problems? Second thing is, what's happened since you passed the ordinance? And then finally, what do you define as reckless use of an e-bike?
Yeah, great question. So first part of your question, I would say yes, absolutely. We definitely noticed problems. It's no secret that First Street has a stop sign at every single intersection. That's strategically done. It's not by mistake, obviously. It's been like that for years. With the near misses, that's hard to quantify in statistics of them flying by through intersections at stop signs. Near misses aren't counted typically, right? We don't capture that information, but it's not lost on us as well either. Furthermore, on the beach, with the just the sheer speed and proximity to people, that also was again, not necessarily statistically driven, but it was very much a complaint driven and observed. So to the second part of the question, have we curbed any of it? I believe we have. We've definitely not fixed it. There's no line there. I mean, you could go out tomorrow and look on Neptune and or Jack's Beach and see people flying by people on e-bikes every day, all day. The enforcement approach, the education approach, I think that's the solution in it. And then, sorry, I forgot the third part of your question.
The final part of the question?
Yeah, so reckless, defining reckless. So, willful one, disregard for the safety of others, right? So if the individual comes as close as Chief Smith and Willow to me and is flying by at a high rate of speed and almost cuts my toes off as I'm trying to enjoy the Sunday, I think we can articulate that that's reckless endangerment of those individuals. So, you know, it's hard to, again, capture everything that could potentially be a scenario of reckless, but I think it's kind of what we're after with that.
And that's a great question, and I was going to follow up with the other two police chiefs. Do you know if there's a similar ordinance that is being considered to be passed in Atlantic Beach and Jacks Beach?
So Atlantic Beach is looking at that currently. We're trying to stay pretty close to what state statute gives us to work with. It's difficult. Years ago, I think this is the next fad, right? It was rollerblades at one time. We believe it like we got rollerblades years ago because they were up and down the street. So it's the next thing we have to deal with. It'll be curious to see how this kind of works out as we go forward. They are an issue, but so are the bikers. So there's a balance to be struck between, I think, enforcement, how much enforcement we enforce on, because again, you won't be able to go 100% with everybody every time. You have to be a middle ground.
Thank you. Chief Smith?
Y'all can hear me. Our city council took the preemptive step of banning e-scooters, and that was completely anticipatory. If you Google e-scooter problems in Copenhagen, Denmark, Miami, Florida, Los Angeles, California, it's been a disaster. Absolute disaster, including in downtown Jacksonville. As far as e-bikes go, we don't have anything on the calendar right now to do that, as far as I know. I'm sure if the other, Atlantic Beach might be working on something. We'll also take a look at it. I'm sure if the other beaches do. But don't forget, when you pass a law, you have to enforce it, or it becomes meaningless.
And did I understand you said that we've already banned e-scooters?
Yes, they're banned. It's not banned by, Sandy, it's banned.
We don't allow the rental of e-scooters
Yes,
and
it's
e-bikes.
rental.
Yeah,
Okay, so you
yeah.
banned
Not
the
the
rentals.
personal ones.
Okay,
Right.
so you banned the businesses
Yes.
that rent
Right.
out e-scooters from being able to set up in Jacks Beach?
Correct.
Okay.
And that's where a lot of problems are coming from. But back to the ordinances, you have to be able to enforce those ordinances. And in the last 2 years, there's been a big push towards don't criminalize non-criminal behavior. That's what we've been hearing from all over the country. And when we become involved in that, that's when you have a police officer end up having to fight someone or tase someone for an e-bike or fishing or releasing balloons on the beach. So we got to be careful of what we criminalize and what we have to enforce. Because if you're not ready to enforce it, there's no use passing.
Thank you. Question from Jack?
For Chief Smith, so you're talking about a lot of the gun issues in Jacks Beach. How much of that is like primary issues relating to guns, like actual like the crimes involving guns, and how much is that like say I think Commander P was talking about traffic stops that guns are found in.
The latter. And firearm by convicted felon, possession of stolen firearm, possession of drugs and firearms. So it's actually proactive. It's before it happens, not after. Out of the 15 to 100 to 2,000 arrests we make every year, what do you think the percentage of people who live in Jacksonville Beach compared to who don't? 90% live outside. So.
Yes, go ahead.
As a resident of Jacksonville Beach, I'm very aware of the recent and continued population growth.
Yes, sir.
Has there been an adequate increase in your staff?
I'm always a straight shooter. I'll be honest with you, I do not have the resources that I need right now to maintain the current service levels. I can do this job with 20 police officers, you're not going to like the service. I can do it with 150 police officers, you're not going to like the bill. Okay? So it comes down to what service do you expect? And the problem right now is, though, I'm wise enough to know I've been around long enough. You have a tanking economy, $6 a gallon gas. You can't find policemen, and when you do, you're paying them a premium. So there are lots of other factors than just add 10 officers. It's not that easy. I can get 10 positions tomorrow, but if I can't recruit them and fill them, what's the point? So I have to raise the pay high enough to stay full, which we have been for 3 years. We've been full. We've been blessed. So to maintain the level of service, everything's more difficult to do, whether it's filling out a piece of paperwork, active shooter training. We're doing training today to fill out reports for the feds. This all takes more time to do. So to maintain the level of service, that's no surprise to my boss, my city manager. I've told him that to maintain this level of service and get it close. But who's going to want a rollback? Who's going to want a millage rate increase right now? So, and I understand that. So we're doing the best we can with what we got.
Thank you. Mayor Brown, I guess you.
Thank you. This is directed at Commander Key because I know the answer to it, but I wonder, Commander, would you mind addressing emergency preparedness, and this is hurricane season, and even your role, and then as kind of a sidebar to that, how the vehicles have changed, and I've actually seen it in different departments too.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, great topic, and I know the other chiefs next to me will echo what I say as far as, you know, we are the tip of the spear, so to speak, at the beach, right? The hurricane typically is going to approach in the ocean, and we need to be the most prepared, being the forefront of the coastal community. So I'll echo again what Chief Smith said. I think we all work extremely well together as a community with the 3 different agencies. We all have invested and dedicated officers to liaison at the Emergency Operations Center in downtown Jacksonville. Somehow I drew the short straw on that one, and it ends up being me every time it goes and lives at the EOC, but those walls begin to really close in on you. But what you do see at the EOC behind those walls are a massive, massive coordination effort. I mean, everything from the U.S. Coast Guard to the Salvation Army and the Red Cross to obviously everybody else in between, everything. That is an amazing element that comes to work real quick. And then the last part of that is we made a strategic decision 2 years ago to begin to implement high water rescue vehicles into our fleet as a normal type patrol vehicle. So in Neptune Beach, we're going to start seeing more pickup trucks and more larger SUVs. First and foremost, that SUV increased in price, a normal Ford Explorer to nearly the price of a Tahoe or another large-sized vehicle. So cost comparison really isn't an issue there, but really what we get out of that is a higher clearance to be able to access not only the beach, but also during those stormwater events.
Thank you. Do you want to add anything, Chief Galillo or Chief Smith? Question? Yes, go ahead.
Totally different subject. Have you 3, all departments, been concentrating a little bit on mental health problems, how you can not have to kill somebody because they're having an episode, how you can cope with them, how you can talk them down? Are you getting extra training for that?
So I'm sure all 3 agencies can agree. In the past 3 or 4 years, we've leaned forward very hard into mental illness, the types of intervention that we can do, the de-escalation training we do for the officers. And that's everything from mental health events with diagnosis of schizophrenia or something to autism and suicide prevention. All those are components now we realize we have to be more well-versed in. But I will say that you have to remember, a police officer has to wear a lot of hats. So the amount of training you give an officer, the amount of time they can practice those skills is pretty limited. So we do the best we can with a very challenging situation. We have recurrent training throughout every year or 2. We go back over multiple topics. In addition to what the state requires, we do more training within the agencies, at least mine for mental health, de-escalation training, and recognizing those problems that are more prevalent in our society today. And I will say this too, we try to lean forward on the mental health of our officers also. We understand that the stress that we encounter over many, many years repetitively builds up. It equates to PTS, post-traumatic stress. It doesn't always occur that it's going to change someone's life in a negative way, but we realize that it does occur and it does build over years. Just like we've seen in our military, we've seen that in law enforcement and fire first responders.
Good. Okay, thank you. One more question. Let me go ahead and do this gentleman, and I'll come back to you. Lynn?
For all 3 chiefs, do you have a number on the registered firearms in each community? And the second question would be, do you have an estimate or a guesstimation of the illegal firearms that circulate in the community?
I can take that. At least for Neptune Beach, so obviously a national registry is legal. There's no such thing as a registry of everyone's firearms. It's unpatriotic and un-American. American and flat out legal. What we may be seeing is, in the event of a gun that is used in a crime can be tracked back through the ATF paperwork upon original purchase. That is the closest thing you'd ever get to a registry in America, where ultimately that gun, Commander Key bought that gun in 2016. Well, Commander Key got the gun stolen in 2017 out of his car because he didn't unlock it or leave it locked, and now it's gone and it trade hands 4 different times. That's hard to quantify. As far as the statistics on it, we do track those. I don't have them readily available. Our 2021 annual report is on our website as well. I believe the statistical data is.
All right, and we'll have time for one last question. Gentlemen?
Yeah, first of all, gentlemen, thank you for your service. The percentage of calls for service, what percentage from each beach would you say are from people that live at the beach or people that are from elsewhere?
Well, like I said before, 90% of our arrests come from people who don't live in the city. So you'll probably, I'm not sure about the rest, I'd have to look at it. It depends on what kind of call. If it's a theft, probably most of them are residents. If it's a drug and disorderly call, probably most of them are non-residents. So it kind of depends. It really does. But, you know, our problem is a huge influx. Every week, every day. I mean, yesterday, one day, or 2 days ago, was slammed out in my city. So, you know, it's a numbers game with us, with all of us. If you have a 25,000 person city like Lake City out in Panhandle, and you get 5,000 visitors to your city a year, and 1% of those, let's say I'm making that number of criminals, it's a pretty low number. When you have 8 million, 1% of 8 million, you got a problem. So it really is a numbers game, if that helps.
So, yeah, I would say for Neptune Beach and maybe even, for Atlantic Beach, but our town center has really grown in the past couple of years. That is definitely an attraction now for Jacksonville. It's somewhere that's really revitalized and blossomed to be a nicer place to go out for dinner and things like that. So I would say we're definitely not, for Neptune Beach specifically, we're not as high as Jack's Beach. Again, I don't have the numbers right in front of me. We're probably somewhere in between that over 50%, but under that 90%, as Chief Smith said. But I think that number is growing for Neptune Beach because, again, we're having more of those visitors come because of our towns that are becoming more popular.
So I'll speak to a little different aspect of that question. It is hard to quantify for us as well as the agencies. We just don't track those types of numbers. I will say this, though. We have the benefit and luxury of living at the beach. One of the challenges that come along with policing at the beach is that what Chief Smith and Commander Key says, we are the playground for Duval County with 1 million+ residents plus outside visitors. When you have the challenge of managing the budget and running the police department, you can't scale that necessarily for 14,000 and 50,000 residents because the influx that we see on the weekend and holidays is astronomical. So how do you balance that? I did a very scientific study a few years ago. I looked at all the beach agencies in the state of Florida, and the per capita rate for police officers was about 2.6 per thousand average for beach agencies. It may go up a little bit or down a little bit. The national average is probably closer to 2.2 per thousand. So when you start looking at those kind of numbers, there's a consistency among beach agencies in Florida. The reality is you have to have more officers, probably a smaller local population, but a larger influx to manage and provide services for those folks. That's, again, a hard thing to tell our residents, our citizens, because they look at our crime stats, how many calls of service did you get, how many arrests did you make, and those don't always equate to the number of officers we need to manage, just the volume of people that come in and come out prepared for a weekend like the 4th of July, Memorial Day, or just a busy weekend. Right. So again, it's a balancing act, how to provide the service with the right return for the investment of the community, but still be able to protect the well-being of our citizens.
Thank you. Gentlemen, thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming here and sharing your perspectives, information, and we certainly appreciate your service and the department's service. So thank you. Okay, one last thing before we go. I want to thank you all for coming. This has been a great crowd. In your chair, you'll see a little piece of paper with a pencil. Please take our short survey meeting. It really helps us with your feedback. Also, make sure if you want to watch the meeting again, it's on our YouTube channel, Beaches Watch 2012. Follow us on Facebook as well, Beaches Watch, and visit our website, beacheswatch.com. And I will make a plug for the Citizens Police Academy for Atlantic Beach as well. It's awesome. If you've not attended, please check into it and sign up. It's really worth the time.
I second that.
Yes, there you go.
Is it open to non-Atlantic Beach residents?
If you're not Atlantic Beach resident,